Hello everyone! I recently got back from vacation. I went somewhere fun, but I was completely inspired while I was there to create a fun card using some Heffy Doodle supplies. I have the Happily Ever Crafter, which is this awesome castle that I want to use. There's also some word dies, some cloud edge dies that are double stitched. They leave a stitch line on the die cut positive and the negative piece, so that's pretty cool. I was inspired by one of the wristbands that we had received while we were on vacation. I love the colors and everything, so I'm going to try to make a card inspired by this piece of trash.
And of course, by trash, I mean something that I'll cherish forever. I have a ton of light pink cardstock here, and I'm trying to get something that will coordinate with my wristband that I have, my inspiration band. I knew that I wanted to ink blend like a darker pink over top of it, so I was trying to get something that was going to coordinate with both the ink and the wristband. I looked through everything, all of my cardstocks, and I finally chose PTI Lovely Lady and Avriel's Sugar Plum. I am so sorry, but Sugar Plum is no longer available. I've hoarded it for forever. So I cut the piece of Lovely Lady down to 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I'm using Distress Oxide ink and Seedless preserves to ink up the outside edges and then concentrate that lighter pink in the center. I really like creating backgrounds like this, so this is not the first time you've seen me do this. I love the way that it looks. I'm going to take this Heffy Doodle sparkle stencil and add a little bit of the sparkle, I guess, shapes to the front. I've adhered some purple tape to the back so that it just lays flat on my glass mat. I'm going to cover the entire front panel with this stencil, and I don't want any tape marks. I've got the Faber-Castell whipped spackle. This is just a white texture paste. I am applying a generous amount with my Nuvo spatula to the front panel of my card. It did tint my texture paste just a little bit. I guess the Distress ink kind of soaked up or absorbed into the texture paste, so you can see that my texture paste isn't bright white in the background in my final photos. Maybe if I waited for that card to dry a little bit more, it would have stayed brighter white like this. I love the way that this looks, but it did fade into a pink. I've got that Sugar Plum cardstock and I'm throwing it in my splat box and now we have a cameo from a half-naked Dexter with a candy cane. I'm using my 3 favorite shimmer sprays, Hero Arts Iridescent White and the Imagine Crafts Frost and Sparkle. I love the sparkle, so I let it rip. So I'm just setting that aside in front of the fan so that it dries quicker. But you can tell here, after this is given some time, that it's not as bright white as it once was, but that's okay. I probably didn't help making the card panel all wet and letting it meld together. As you can probably tell, I did not care. I loved all the sparkle and the pink sparkle shapes. So now I'm taking some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink and I'm stamping my images. The castle is from the Happily Ever Crafter, and the little moon with the clouds, that is from Absotoothly Awesome. Both are Heffy Doodle stamp sets, and I had to stamp it several times. That's not uncommon when the stamps are brand new, but I finally got it to work for me, and with the help of a Memento pen, you can kind of go over the lines that maybe didn't stamp correctly. I also sometimes use a Copic multi-liner for the same purpose. It doesn't matter. Both are alcohol friendly and they're going to be okay with your Copic markers. Alcohol friendly. Alcohol ink friendly. Does that make sense? Probably not. I don't even know why you guys watch me. Probably to see what kind of harebrained stuff I come up with next. That's okay. I do too. That's what makes it exciting for me. As you probably noticed, I did make a Copic color map with the colors that I'm using, but basically my inspiration was Cinderella's Castle at Disney World in Orlando. It has some parts of it that have a blue roof and some gold. So that was my color inspiration for this castle. So I went with a black in the windows, but in hindsight, I think I would have preferred it to be a light color, like a yellow, as if the castle was lit up from within. I just think the black was a little dark, and that's okay, but I think next time I'll probably color it differently. I chose a neutral gray color combination to color my castle. I guess everyone that looks at it could probably interpret the castle in different colors, but this was my interpretation. The center of the castle is actually see-through at Disney World, but I chose to make a brown kind of like castle door, you know, those old style castle doors that come down across the moat. That was my thought process behind it. The die that coordinates with this image is really cool because once you use it, you can pop out the door. The door will open. It opens like a door with a doorknob, like you were going through an entry door. I wish that the score line was at the bottom, like, and it folded down to let all the horsies run through the castle. Is that weird? Is that just... I'm just weird. It's okay. So in order to add the gold, I could have colored the flags gold, but no, that was not good enough for me. I had to use gold glitter embossing powder. So I'm prepping my flags with the EK6S powder tool, and I'm using a Ranger Emboss It pen. This just leaves sticky ink, just like on your embossing ink pad, but it's in a pen form. So I'm coloring my flags with the embossing ink, and then I'm going to coat it with this gold glitter embossing powder by Nuvo. It is beautiful and so sparkly and shiny. And what I edited out just now, because I didn't have time to edit it, was when I blew on my project to get some excess embossing powder off, and then I blew that little pile of dust everywhere. I'm sorry that I didn't have time to show you that, but that actually happened to me. Once I was done there, you can see all the embossing powder kind of all over the place. But it's easy to clean up with this really oversized piece of cardstock that I save just for this purpose. Here is the castle all cut out and how the door swings open and closed. Now I'm taking more Neenah 110 with some schmutz on it, and some cloud edge dies by Heffy Doodle. Everything will be linked below in the description box. And I'm creating these little cloud areas at the bottom of my card. They're just cut with edge dies and then cut to fit my square. I'm taking that purple piece of cardstock that I sprayed with Shimmer Spritz earlier and the magical word die by Heffy Doodle, and I'm cutting out just one piece of that shiny piece, and then I'm taking another piece of the same purple cardstock and I'm cutting it out 4 additional times. I'm going to layer those together like I normally do to create a dimensional word die cut. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe liquid adhesive to layer them all together. Make sure that the shiny one stays on top. Don't layer that in the center. That one's going to stay on top. And all of the regular matte boring cardstocks are going to be on the bottom. Make sure you save all of the tittles, all of the tops of the eyes, because we will be using those. I saved them and I used them. That's right. I did it. While my layered word die cut sits with this acrylic block on top of it and dries, I'm also going to prep another piece of the Lovely Lady cardstock, and I'm going to stamp some of the sub-sentiments with Nuvo Clear Mark embossing ink. This time we're going to use a purple embossing powder, which will also be linked below in the description box, by Nuvo, and this one's going to say wishing you a and birthday. I first did it and I heat embossed it and everything was great, and it didn't look perfect, so I ended up re-prepping another piece of paper and re-embossing it. I'm sure this has happened to you also. And by perfect, I mean make sure it doesn't make you nauseous to read it. I've got my Fiskars wire guide paper trimmer, and we're just going to trim these really close to the edge. This makes them really tiny little slivers of a sentiment, but I like the way that it looks, and I pop them up on my card panels. Now that I have all of the pieces of my card, we can start assembling it. Assembling it? Yeah, that's right. The background panel was popped up onto some gray craft foam with some 1/2-inch tear tape adhesive by Tonic Studios. I used this Craft Perfect foam squares, also by Tonic, to pop up almost everything else. This card does have quite a bit of dimension, but that doesn't bother me. I just take extra precautions when it goes to sending it in the mail. I did, however, end up using my liquid adhesive.
Oh yeah? Yeah, liquid adhesive for the The liquid adhesive.
Not for Tim's flip-flop. I'm not quite sure what he was talking about, but I did use it to adhere my magical word die. I ended up only putting it on the first part of the word die, and then the rest of it kind of hung off of that cloud. So I ended up putting a tiny bit of foam tape behind the cull just to keep it in place. I asked Tim to hand me a micro brush because I couldn't find the one that was right in front of my face, right there. So he threw it at me. I love you. Thank you, honey.
Is this what you were looking for? It's over here on the floor.
No, that's a different one.
Oh.
Don't worry, I did end up finding it. But now I'm going to place a small dot of glue right above the eye where I placed the magical. Now this was on the layer beneath it, okay? So it is at a lower level than the rest of the word, but you really can't tell that, and the recipient of the card is just going to be able to read the word and not critique where the top of your eye is. So I've put a little bit of adhesive and then put the dot of the eye, let it dry, put a little bit of adhesive, and then put another. This is how I layered it, and it worked. I did put a little bit of liquid adhesive on that flag too, so to keep it in place. But that's it. That's my card for today. It is super shiny. I love it. I hope you will find Heffy Doodle on social media. I hope you enjoyed my card video today. Until next time.